back. I really hope you enjoyed listening to the first 2 chapters of It's a Kid's Life Christmas Countdown last night. Tonight I'm going to read you chapter 3 and we have 2 very special guests joining us. We have Danny. Say hi.
Hi.
And we have Joe.
Hello.
Now, if you've read the other books, or maybe this one, you would have come across the characters Big Spud and Little Spud. And here you have my inspiration for those guys. So obviously they're a lot older now than Big Spud and Little Spud in the books. But when Joe was a baby and Danny was a toddler, they were my inspiration. So they've asked to come and join me tonight to listen to the story. Are you ready, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Mum, it's just that thing's poking me.
We'll come closer to me then, scooching. Okay? So, what are you going to write about, Ben? Asked my best friend Tommy, referring to my latest money-making plan to win the newspaper competition. We were sitting in the school hall eating our lunch 2 days later. The smell of sweaty feet mixed with overcooked broccoli lingered around us, making my lungs crave the fresh air of the playground. Parents were invited in to have lunch with us a few months back, and Mum said how it had smelled exactly the same in her school lunch or when she was a child. According to her, the food they serve nowadays was much better, although I have to admit I found this very hard to believe. As she had devoured her dry chocolate cake for pudding, she had said that a jam roly-poly was as good as it got in her day. I'm not too sure yet, I replied to his question. It was actually harder than I thought to decide what to do. It needs to be perfect though. There's no way I'm going to mess this up and miss out on winning that £50 prize money. Win £50 for what? Came an annoying voice from behind me. Nosy Natalie was walking past us with her dinner tray and her ears had pricked up at the sound of our conversation. I didn't say anything about winning £50, I said quickly. The last thing I wanted was for Nosy Natalie to hear about the competition. The whole school would know by the end of the day, and that would only mean one thing: more competition, and therefore less chance of winning. Tommy quickly backed me up. You mean 50p, Natalie, not £50. Natalie squinted her eyes at us suspiciously. You definitely said £50, she said. I heard you. Nope, definitely 50p, I lied. Tommy and I are having a little bet on something. If Tommy wins, I have to give him 50p. And if I win, he has to give me 50p. Right, Tommy? Right, Ben, Tommy nodded. So what is the bet then? Asked Nosy Natalie, raising her eyebrows upwards. Tommy and I looked at each other for a second as we racked our brains. Suddenly, I spotted a dinner lady who we all called Sarge behind her back. She earned herself this nickname due to the fact that she was on a total power trip. She bossed kids around left, right and centre like she was a sergeant major and we were her army recruits. Can you see the picture?
Okay.
I bet Tommy that before I finish eating this lump of broccoli, Sarge would have shouted at some poor kid for not eating every last mouthful of their putrid mush of soggy pasta. If I'm right, he has to give me 50p. And if I'm wrong, I have to give him 50p. That sounds fun. Can I bet too? Asked Nosy Natalie. Okay, I agreed reluctantly as she put her dinner tray down opposite mine and took a seat. Oh, for crying out loud. Now I would actually have to eat the poor excuse for broccoli. I had planned on sneakily tipping it into the bin when the dinner ladies had their backs turned. I could have really done with Obie and Lola sneaking under the table right then to gobble it out of my hand. Go on then, said Nosy Natalie impatiently. It's cheating if you take too long to eat the broccoli. She's right, joined in Tommy. You'd better get eating, Ben, or the bet's off. He smirked at me, enjoying every second of my discomfort. Glaring at him, I dug my fork into the soggy piece of broccoli that lay on my plate. It looked like a miniature tree that had been cut down a year ago and left to rot. As I lifted it towards my lips, the smell of it hit my nostrils, and I had to fight the urge to gag. It smelt like cat vomit mixed with Pocket Rocket's stinky socks. I was about to open my lips and sink my teeth into the monstrosity on my fork when I heard Sarge's voice booming through the lunch hall. You boy, get back in your seat with your tray right now, she shouted. I looked up and saw a poor boy from year 1 called Alfie literally shaking as he realised he had been caught. His attempt to perform the ultimate sin of not eating every last mouthful of his school dinner had been thwarted by none other than Sarge herself. I want to see every last mouthful of that pasta eaten by the time I count to 20, she boomed. 1, 2, 3. Poor Alfie started to eat mouthfuls of his sloppy pasta as quickly as he could, whilst feeling the burn of hundreds of pairs of eyes on him. Everyone else in the lunch hall watched him, feeling thankful that they weren't the ones under Sarge's fire right then. She was a menacing-looking woman, if indeed she was a woman, as quite frankly, she could have been a man wearing a dress for all I knew. She was so tall that she had to duck her head down as she walked through the door to the kitchen. She looked about 50 years old and always had her hair scraped back into a tight bun on top of her head. This just accentuated the massive double, no actually triple. On second thoughts, make that quadruple chins that she had hanging around her neck. I put a piece of broccoli back down on my plate and held out my left hand to Tommy, then my right hand to nosy Natalie. I think you'll find you owe me 50p each. Thank you very much, I said smugly. That's not fair. You cheated, whined nosy Natalie. I won, fair and square, Natalie, I replied. Right, Tommy? I knew that Tommy would back me up. He was my best friend for one. And secondly, 50p was nothing to him. And when his millionaire dad gave him £50 to spend on snacks every day. Fine, said nosy Natalie as she stood up in a strop, but you still have to eat the broccoli or no deal. She's right then, I'm afraid. You did say before you've eaten the broccoli, and technically that means you still have to eat it. They were correct, of course, and I hated to have my integrity under fire. I had to man up and eat the broccoli. Holding my nose, I opened my mouth wide and bit the whole lot off the stalk in one go. My cheeks actually hurt as the horrendous flavour covered my taste buds. My obvious discomfort seemed to please nosy Natalie as she stood up and told me she would give me the 50p later. She sauntered off to a table of girls nearby. As I watched her, I thought to myself that never in a million years would nosy Natalie pay her debt. I didn't care though. I had bigger and better things to worry about, like winning the competition in the newspaper and bagging myself the £50 prize money. Do you want to hear chapter 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Mum! The following morning, I woke up to the sound of Pocket Rocket shouting for Mum at the top of his voice. I rubbed my sleepy eyes and reached down to stroke Obi, who was curled up at the end of my bed as usual. I crawled down my duvet so that I could lie next to him and snuggled my head into the soft fur on his tummy. Maybe just 5 more minutes sleep. Mum, come here quickly! Pocket Rocket shouted even louder this time. I groaned as I realised my 5 minutes more sleep was not going to happen with my noisy brother around. I heard Mum's footsteps walking down the stairs to see what drama could possibly be so important at this early in the morning. I grabbed my dressing gown from the end of my bed and followed her down to see what all the fuss was about. I was greeted in the kitchen by Pocket Rocket holding up his advent calendar. Every single one of the doors had been ripped open. Shiny silver foil hung in big patches where bite-sized chocolates had once sat. I took one look at Little Spud hiding under the kitchen table and put 2 and 2 together. It certainly didn't take a genius to work out what had happened. Little Spud has eaten my entire advent calendar, wailed Pocket Rocket.
Oh my God.
He charged at the kitchen table and made a grab for our naughty little brother. He would have got him too, if Mum hadn't stepped between them just in time. Hang on a minute, she said. How do you know it was Little Spud? It could have been Obi or Lola for all we know. Seeing his chance to hide behind Mummy, Little Spud crawled out from under the table. Yeah, he said, I bet it was Lola. We all looked at Little Spud in disbelief as he said this. Okay, I said. And if Lola did this, do you think she would have chocolate all around her face, Little Spud? Yep, he replied smugly, and then thought for a moment. But she's probably licked it all off by now. Mum raised one of her eyebrows at Little Spud and gave him the mum look of disappointment. Come with me and look in the mirror, she said to him. She picked Little Spud up and carried him into the lounge. My brothers and I followed her to see our youngest brother get busted. As he looked in the mirror, Little Spud saw a face looking back at him that seemed just like his. Only this one had chocolate smeared all over it. Lola must have licked me after she ate all of the chocolate, he exclaimed. Wow, he was pretty impressive for a 3-year-old. He may not be able to say chocolate properly yet, but he was very good at being devious. Little Spud, I'm so cross with you, Mum said as she put him down on the floor. She knelt down in front of him so that her eyes were on the same level as his. Ooh, wait for it. She's going for the I'm so disappointed in you speech for sure. No, actually, I'm not cross with you. I'm disappointed in you, which is much worse, she continued. And boom, there you have it. Mums are so predictable. How could you eat an entire advent calendar just a few days into December? And you didn't even eat your own. You took your brother's, which is even worse. Yes, Spud, chimed in Pocket Rocket. You are going to give your advent calendar to your brother and you are going to have to go without one for the whole of December, Mum told him. You can't do that, wailed Little Spud. Father Christmas won't... Climb back up. Just 1 minute, guys. We've had a little claps. You okay?
Yeah, but oh my god.
Set disasters. Right, leave.
But you
Don't
won't
worry.
fell
It was just the staff and the reindeer, but don't worry.
Why?
Let's get back to the
Why
story.
did you put it down?
Okay. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Where was I? Okay. Father Christmas won't know when to come if I don't have a badvent calendar. Big Spud started laughing at this point. Ha ha, yours is a badvent calendar now, Little Spud, he said in a sing-song voice. You're bad and Father Christmas is bringing you a lump of coal. This was just too much for Little Spud. No, he wailed. Sorry, Mum, sorry, Pocket Rocket. Please don't tell Father Christmas, please. I almost felt sorry for the little devil. All right, said Mum, calm down. If you promise that you really have learnt your lesson, I will give you one more chance. And from now on, it won't be me that tells Father Christmas if you're naughty. It will be this elf that he sent me yesterday. She went over to the cupboard in the kitchen and pulled out the freakiest looking toy elf I had ever seen. It was dressed entirely in red, including a big pointy red hat. It had a smug looking face with big round sneaky blue eyes.
That looks creepy.
This, boys, is Elvis the elf. He has come to keep an eye on you so that Father Christmas knows whether or not you deserve to get presents this year. Don't be silly, Mum, said Pocket Rocket. It's just a doll. It may look like a doll, said Mum. But trust me, Elvis is very real and he will see everything that you boys do. And I mean everything. Big Spud and Little Spud looked terrified at that. I had to give Mum credit for this one. She was good. Bringing a pretend elf into the house to get her sons to behave. Genius. Come to think of it, maybe I could write a newspaper report about it for the competition. The headline would read, Mum wins in battle to make kids behave with a little help from a fake elf. I could almost feel the £50 prize money in my hand. This was sure to win me the competition. Oh, I think Ben's going to be disappointed because we all know that's not a fake elf, don't we, children? Okay, so when I go to schools, I play a little game with the children doing a writing workshop and they have to guess what is truth, as in what is real life factual stuff that's happened to us that I write about, and what's fiction, so what comes from my imagination. And I remembered reading that then about the chocolate advent calendar. Now, do you guys remember this one? Is that fact or fiction? Little Spud eating Pocket Rocket's chocolate advent calendar. What do you think?
Fact.
Fact? Definitely fact. This little fella here, when he was a naughty toddler, he ate his brother's entire advent calendar just a few days into December.
So where I'm dressed in red, I'm a little devil.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, a little insight into the real life stuff that goes
Even
into my books there.
Red.
It is.
Oh, but not Pengy.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap that up there, children. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in tomorrow night at 6 o'clock and I will read you the next chapter in the book. I'm not sure whether my little helpers will be here or not. We shall see. See how that goes. Every night in December, I'm reading the children a chapter or two from this book, just like I do for you guys throughout December. Okay, so we will see you very soon. Say bye, guys.
Bye-bye.